Hi there, I'm Jerry Yang, and this is David Philo. We're the co-founders of Yahoo.
Do you Yahoo? Do you even remember Yahoo?
Who would have thought that a small chocolate milk company like Yahoo could turn into one of the world's biggest tech giants? It's amazing.
In the 90s, Yahoo owned the internet.
Allison, can you explain what internet is?
Then they said no to Google, no to Microsoft, fumbled Facebook, passed on Netflix, and somehow the company refuses to die. It's 1994. Somewhere in a cluttered trailer on the Stanford campus, two grad students are supposed to be working on their dissertations. Instead, they're procrastinating and building a map of the entire internet. Jerry Yang, a Taiwanese immigrant who came to the US at age 10, not speaking a word of English. And David Philo, a quiet tech whiz from Louisiana. They call it Jerry and David's Guide to the World Wide Web. Not exactly catchy, but this simple list becomes something huge. It's the first real directory of the entire internet. Yeah, the entire internet. Every single website in existence. That may sound crazy now, but at the start of 1994, there were only 623 websites in existence globally. You could visit every site on the internet in a single day.
Now that I've gotten on the internet, I'd rather be on my computer than doing just about anything.
It's really cool.
The internet gave us a whole world of exciting new possibilities. So I guess this is a story of how it changed our lives. Maybe it will yours too.
Take a spin, now you're in with the techno set. You're going surfing on the internet.
Oh, the 90s. What a glorious time. Jerry and David would work in 20-hour stretches, eating pizza and trading off who got to sleep on the floor, adding sites, creating categories, avoiding their actual PhD dissertation work.
The web was growing at this ridiculous rate, and people were using it. People were suggesting sites to add. They wanted their own sites added to it.
A lot of this sort of just kept spiraling because you end up having more sites, therefore you need more robust tools, and then, so we sort of got just caught into this vortex.
Till eventually it took almost all of our free time.
They renamed it Yahoo, yet another hierarchical, officious oracle. It just rolls off the tongue, doesn't it?
The exclamation mark came later.
That was a marketing hype thing.
They also picked Yahoo because they liked its dictionary meaning, a loud, uncouth, slightly feral person. They just thought it was funny. Stanford didn't find it funny. Yahoo was crashing their network. As the internet exploded, Yahoo became the starting point for millions discovering the internet. So it became time for Yahoo to graduate off of the Stanford campus. AOL came knocking, so did Netscape. Both wanted to buy the tech folded into their own companies. It could have ended there, but then Mike Moritz of Sequoia Capital called, the same venture firm that invested in Apple, Atari, Cisco, and Oracle. He offered seed money to build it into a company. Jerry and David had a choice: take the money from AOL or Netscape and finish their PhDs, or go all in on the thing they accidentally created.
For myself, a hard thing because the PhD was something that I worked on for a long time, and it's a very personal goal. But knowing that we couldn't put Yahoo on hold, and we could put the PhD on hold was sort of what decided it. We knew that if we put Yahoo on hold, we never have that opportunity again. Whereas, Lord knows, we may go back and do the PhD someday.
Yahoo became a real company. They moved into actual offices, hired some people, but almost immediately they had a bigger question to answer. Who's gonna run this thing? In 1995, they hired Tim Kugel as Yahoo's official first CEO.
Phone rang. Alan Sabrin, the recruiter, said, TK, I think I've got a really interesting one here. A couple of young guys, really great idea, and they definitely need some adult supervision. Are you interested? So it got my attention.
A year later, Yahoo goes public in one of the most explosive IPOs ever. Priced at $13 a share, it jumped up to $43 before settling at $33 a share on day one. It's the most successful procrastination project in human history. By the late 90s, Yahoo ruled the internet. They were everywhere, dominating every corner of internet life. And if you were online in the late 90s, Yahoo wasn't just a tech company, it was pop culture.
Do you, Yahoo?
That yodel was iconic. You didn't just hear it in their ads, you also heard it in movies. You know, actually looking back at that scene, it's pretty symbolic. By January of 2000, Yahoo was worth over $125 billion, more than Disney, Ford, and Boeing combined. The student project had become the most valuable media company on earth. CEO Tim Kugel oversees aggressive expansion around this time. They acquire a clunky video site called Broadcast.com for $5.7 billion, hoping it would launch them into the world of streaming. The seller, Mark Cuban, who rode that deal straight into billionaire status, walked away with a basketball team and a front row seat on Shark Tank, where he's been cosplaying as a visionary businessman ever since. I have another video on how Mark Cuban fleeced Yahoo for that money. They also buy GeoCities for $3.57 billion. Now, GeoCities, for those of you too young to remember, allowed people to easily build and host their own personal website. It was filled with under construction GIFs, neon text on black backgrounds, and auto-playing MIDI music. People were learning HTML from scratch just to make their page look unique. Oh, how times have changed. It's 1997, and two Stanford college kids walk into Yahoo's offices. They built a search engine, not a directory like Yahoo, but an actual algorithm ranking web pages by relevance. And they're tired of it. They just want to sell it and get back to their dissertations. The price? $1 million. Yahoo says no. Oh, those two college kids? They just happen to be Larry Page and Sergey Brin. Oh, and the algorithm that they're selling? That just happens to be the code that eventually becomes Google. They could have bought the technology that would go on to own search for the next 25 years. In their minds, why buy a search engine when they've already got a directory? Yahoo's business model was built around keeping people on their site for as long as possible so they would see more banner ads. They used real human editors to categorize websites and build content. Google's algorithm was so good at ranking sites based on relevance that people searched, found exactly what they wanted, and clicked away to another site. From Yahoo's perspective, a search engine that worked too well was actually bad for their business. But Google was faster, more scalable, and more accurate. Larry and Sergey would go on to refine the algorithm, raise money, and turn it into Google. Yahoo realizes their blunder in 2002 and offers to buy Google for $3 billion. Larry and Sergey counter with a $5 billion offer. And again, Yahoo says no. Too expensive, they say. Yahoo, the same company that was willing to pay Mark Cuban $5.7 billion for his worthless tech, decides that $5 billion for Google is too much. And here's the irony. Yahoo never invested in search technology. They relied on Google's technology to power their own search. Then they bought Inktomi for $235 million to stop relying on Google tech. And that didn't work. Then they tried to compete with Google's ad business by purchasing Overture services for $1.6 billion. That didn't work either. Google had surpassed Yahoo in search traffic, ad revenue, and market value. Meanwhile, the tech they could have had for $1 million, then $5 billion, is now worth trillions. It's 2006 and Senior VP Brad Garlinghouse has had enough. He writes an internal memo that leaks to the Wall Street Journal. The Peanut Butter Manifesto. In it he writes, "We lack a focused, cohesive vision for our company. We want to do everything and be everything to everyone." He's right. Too bad for him, nobody at the company listens. Then a new threat emerges. Mark Zuckerberg. In the summer of 2006, Facebook is only 2 years old. 8 million users, 30 million in revenue, not really profitable. But it had something Yahoo wanted, the youth. Yahoo offers to buy it for $1 billion. The tech press loses its mind. $1 billion for a 2-year-old company. They got burned by Google twice, they weren't about to lose out on this one. Mark Zuckerberg meets with the board. He doesn't really want the deal, but the others on the board like Peter Thiel and Jim Breyer, well, they want to take it. Then, Yahoo releases terrible earnings, and they panic. They call Facebook back and want to renegotiate. Zuckerberg becomes even less interested in dealing with Yahoo. So on a weekend in July, Yahoo executives call to close the deal. Zuckerberg ignores their calls. Yahoo can't believe it. They're closing a near $1 billion deal and he's ghosting them. In the end, Yahoo doesn't get Facebook and is yet again humiliated. And Facebook becomes another $1 trillion company. In 1997, Jerry Yang makes his first trip to China. The government assigns him a handler, a junior staffer from the Ministry of Foreign Investment named Jack Ma. Jack takes Jerry to the Great Wall, and they hit it off. At the time, China only had about 7 million internet users. And Jack is curious and wants to know everything about Yahoo, about the internet, and about Jerry's vision. They talk for hours about the future. Jerry flies home, and they lose touch over time. Fast forward to 2005, and Yahoo China is failing. Terry Semel is CEO of Yahoo, and they had bought a company in China called 3721 Network Software for $120 million. But it's a total disaster. There's internal conflicts and a toxic culture. Meanwhile, a site called Taobao is dominating Chinese e-commerce.
And we were losing our commerce efforts to this company called Taobao, and of course I found out it was Jack. And
Jerry reconnects with Jack. Jack pitches Yahoo on Alibaba. In fact, he had been pitching Alibaba for years, but got turned down by most American investors. It was too risky for them. But Jerry remembers that conversation at the Great Wall, and he also realized that Yahoo wasn't going to win in China. So instead of fighting it, he bought in and made a big bet. As founder and chief Yahoo, Jerry convinces CEO Terry Semel to go all in on Alibaba. $1 billion in cash, plus Yahoo China's operations for 40% of Alibaba. At the time, it was one of the largest American investments in a Chinese internet company. Jerry pulled off one of the best investments in tech history. But back home, CEO Terry Semel was tanking the company. Semel came from Hollywood. He knew how to talk the language of movie stars and ad agencies, but not tech or engineering. And the internet was moving fast. Mobile was exploding at this time, social media was starting to take over. Yahoo needed someone forward-thinking. Instead, they had an old-school studio exec running a tech company like a film studio. He was the one that passed on Google when they asked for $5 billion, then watched them dominate search and the ads business. He blew the Facebook deal trying to lowball Zuckerberg. And even after all his failures during the 6 years as CEO, Semel paid himself $230 million. In 2006 alone, Yahoo stock dropped 35%. But Semel, well, he gave himself a reward of $71 million in 2006 for overseeing that cliff dive. And by 2007, the board had enough. Semel was out as CEO. Yahoo's Hollywood era was over. June 18, 2007, Jerry Yang returns to the company as CEO to try and turn things around, to save the company he founded. Fast forward to February 2008, Microsoft CEO Steve Ballmer is desperate to compete with Google. So, in typical Microsoft fashion, he makes an offer to buy Yahoo for $44.6 billion. At the time, this was the biggest acquisition offer in tech history. Jerry believes Yahoo is worth more, and he thinks he can turn it around. So he fights the bid aggressively, and shareholders are furious. This is their payday and a way to get out of Yahoo with a fat paycheck after years of decline. Activist investor Carl Icahn launches a proxy war. He tries to force Jerry out to replace the board and accept Microsoft's offer. The drama drags on for months. Microsoft eventually walks away and the offer dies. Jerry Yang resigns in disgrace in November 2008.
Yahoo's co-founder, Jerry Yang, has quit the struggling internet firm he started in 1995. Yang has been criticized by some shareholders for impeding investment deals they said could have transformed the company.
Yahoo stock craters. The company never recovers its value. January 13th, 2009. Yahoo hires Carol Bartz as CEO. She's tough, foul-mouthed, and direct. In a conference call with analysts, she announces her intention to give Yahoo some friggin' breathing room. She's also ruthless. She tells employees she'll dropkick to Mars anyone who leaks to the press. She threatens to fire executives and drops F-bombs any chance she gets.
You know, one product management person for every 3 engineers. So we had a lot of people running around telling engineers what to do, but nobody fucking doing anything.
Under Carol's leadership, the company is dying. And inside the company, her approval rating plummets with Yahoo employees. One executive famously asked a room full of employees to write down what Yahoo actually was. He got 30 different answers. And while all of this is happening, people were ditching desktops for their phones. Yahoo wasn't ready. Their products felt slow, clunky, built for a web that didn't exist anymore. The company that once defined how people use the internet was suddenly just another app trying to stay on the home screen. So in September of 2011, Yahoo chairman Roy Bostock calls Bartz in New York. He's only 20 minutes away, but doesn't even feel like meeting her in person. He reads a lawyer's prepared statement. She's fired.
Yahoo is looking for a new CEO this morning. The company fired Carol Bartz from the job after 2 bumpy years. And Bartz made the announcement matter-of-factly. Her email said, "I'm very sad to tell you that I've just been fired," over the phone by Yahoo's chairman. Yahoo stock gained more than 6% in after-hours trading.
She later tells Fortune magazine, "These people fucked me over." She also blasts Roy and tells him, "Why don't you have the balls to tell me yourself?" And she calls the board doofuses. And in an interview when she was asked by a journalist what she was planning to do next at the age of 63, her response, "Fuck you, yeah." Former Yahoo VP Brad Garlinghouse summed up her firing with this tweet, "Ding dong, the witch is dead."
So fuck off.
January 2012, Yahoo hires Scott Thompson, a former PayPal president, as CEO. 4 months later, he's gone.
One of his first big moves as Yahoo CEO, Scott Thompson eliminated 2,000 jobs. Now his own job appears to be at risk just 4 months after replacing its previously embattled CEO, Carol Bartz.
Activist investor Daniel Loeb discovers Thompson actually lied on his resume. He claimed he got a computer science degree from Stonehill College, when in reality, he had an accounting degree. He blamed the mistake on a recruiter, but it didn't matter. Yahoo's board is humiliated. How could they let someone lie their way to a CEO position? The company becomes even more of a joke. But there is one shining light for the company. By 2012, Yahoo's 40% stake in Alibaba was worth almost as much as Yahoo itself, and Alibaba was about to gear up for the biggest IPO in history at the time. So just weeks before he's fired, CEO Scott Thompson agrees to sell half of its original 40% stake back to Alibaba for $7.1 billion in cash and $500 million in stock, which gives Yahoo some money to play with. How they chose to use that money, well... July 16th, 2012, Marissa Mayer, Google's 20th employee and its first female engineer, becomes CEO of Yahoo. She is a celebrity CEO hired to bring Google DNA to a dying brand. And she joins Yahoo at a very tumultuous time for the company, becoming the 5th official CEO in the span of just 5 years. With talent bleeding out to Google and Facebook, revenue plummeting, products rotting away, she decides to throw everything at the wall. She wanted to turn Yahoo into a mobile-first content powerhouse. She redesigned Yahoo's apps with clean, modern interfaces. She hires big-name journalists. She does a bunch of acqui-hires, over 50 startups for around $2 billion, not necessarily for their product or tech, but for their talent. One example of this was when Yahoo bought Tumbl'd to bring in their 17-year-old whiz kid Nick D'Aloisio.
Let us begin this half hour with the 17-year-old whose simple idea just made him millions. We'll talk to him in a moment, but first, his remarkable story.
My company had been bought by Yahoo. That was just a very weird moment, kind of reading about it in a newspaper or on television, kind of going, well, that's Tumbl'd.
His app was immediately shut down and integrated into the Yahoo News Digest. Meyer then implements a stack ranking performance review that forces managers to rank employees on a curve, a move straight out of the 1980s corporate playbook. If you're at the bottom, you're out. Even if you're a high-performing employee, it doesn't matter. It turns employees against each other and creates a toxic company culture. In October, she gives birth, takes 2 weeks maternity leave, and builds a nursery next to her office. She did pay for it herself. But then she bans remote work company-wide. In a leaked memo, she tells thousands of employees that speed and quality are often sacrificed when we work from home. The backlash is instant, especially from the support staff. Employees revolt, but Mayer pushes forward anyway. She was looking for one massive acquisition to redefine the company and her legacy, and narrowed it down to 3 targets. Tumblr valued at $1.1 billion, Hulu valued at $1.3 billion, and get this, Netflix, which at the time was valued around $4 billion, thanks to the Quickster debacle. I do have a video covering that, you can check that out on my channel. And guess which company they passed on? Yeah, Yahoo chose Tumblr because in their mind it came down to social versus video. Yahoo's audience was aging out, and they thought Tumblr was the key to winning over millennials. They viewed Netflix as a DVD by mail company that was just starting to get into streaming. Netflix would go on to become the biggest player in Hollywood and be worth hundreds of billions. May 20th, 2013. Yahoo buys Tumblr for $1.1 billion. 108 million blogs, 50 billion posts, a young, engaged audience that Yahoo desperately needs. Mayer makes a promise on her own Tumblr blog. We promise not to screw it up.
You've promised not to screw it up.
Yes.
How did you come to that language? What does it say? What does it say about the concerns that users that have been loyal to Tumblr bristle at the notion of a new corporate parent?
Well, I think it's clear that Tumblr has a really good thing going. They have a really passionate community. That was one of the things that made them really interesting for us. And so I'm cognizant of the fact that we don't want to mess that up.
They screw it up. Yahoo imposes content restrictions, censorship, trying to make Tumblr advertiser friendly, immediately angering the weirdos, artists, and fandoms that made Tumblr special. David Karp, Tumblr's founder, watches helplessly as Yahoo destroys what he built. And those users, well, they leave. By 2016, Yahoo writes down Tumblr as a loss by over $700 million. And it eventually gets sold off for under $3 million in 2019. Internally, morale gets worse and worse. A senior vice president at Yahoo says, Marissa is the type of boss that makes you feel like you're disappointing her at all times. So I always feel like I'm on the verge of being fired. She's also ranked as the least likable CEO in tech. But she ignores the noise and pushes forward anyways. She wants Yahoo to become a media company. If she won't buy Netflix, she'll build one for Yahoo. Enter Yahoo Screen. Mayer spends millions launching original video content. She even rescues Community, the cult sitcom NBC canceled, and funds a 6th season. The show's fans are excited. I know I was. The problem though? There was not enough content, the app was buggy, users complained about too many ads, and they just couldn't compete with Hulu or Netflix. It lasts only a couple of years before being shut down. Yahoo eats a $42 million loss on it. Hey, at least we got a 6th season of Community out of it. Mayer also launches 11 digital magazines, only to eventually shut down 7 of them for another loss. But these are all just warm-up acts. The real disaster is already happening. In 2013, hackers break into Yahoo's database. They steal data from 1 billion user accounts, names, emails, passwords, security questions. The biggest breach in internet history. And Yahoo? They do nothing. Just a year later, another breach. 500 million accounts affected. Yahoo stays silent again. 3 years of users exposed, with passwords compromised, data stolen, and Yahoo still says nothing. Why? Well, because they're trying to sell the company, and if they disclose a massive breach, that would tank the sale price. In 2016, during negotiations to sell to Verizon, Yahoo finally discloses the breaches. And Verizon is furious. They've already committed to buying Yahoo for $4.83 billion, so they demand a discount. Then Yahoo discovers the breaches were even worse.
What's believed to be the largest data breach in history did just get bigger. Yahoo now says the hack back in 2013 that it originally said affected 1 billion users actually affected all of its 3 billion accounts.
The SEC investigates, class action lawsuits pile up. Final purchase price from Verizon? $4.48 billion. Only 10% of what Microsoft initially offered just 8 years earlier when they offered to buy Yahoo for $44.6 billion. Yahoo, a company that was once worth over $100 billion, sells for less than $5 billion. June 13th, 2017. Verizon completes its purchase of Yahoo. Marissa Mayer steps down as CEO, but not before she gets a $23 million golden parachute. A nice parting gift for 5 years of expensive failures. She later admits buying Tumblr was a mistake and that Netflix would have been the better choice. You think? Verizon immediately merges Yahoo with AOL, another internet relic from the 90s.
Two of the oldest online companies that once revolutionized the internet will join forces to become a new digital brand. AOL and Yahoo will merge to become a new telecom company called Oath.
Verizon, one of the most hated companies on the planet, merging two dead internet brands together and naming it Oath. The name becomes an instant punchline. Tim Armstrong, former AOL CEO, takes over the division. His grand vision? Challenge Google and Facebook in digital advertising. It doesn't work. He leaves soon after. By 2021, Verizon dumps Yahoo and AOL at a near $4 billion loss to private equity firm Apollo Global. Apollo splits them back up, and Yahoo returns as its own company. The zombie still walks. So to recap, Yahoo spent about $15 billion on these companies. Nearly all of them failed or were left to rot and die. Now compare that to what they could have bought. Now in fairness though, given Yahoo's track record, even if they bought these companies, they most likely would have ran them into the ground. After all the CEO changes, the failed acquisitions, and missed opportunities, Yahoo still exists. The logo hasn't changed much. It's still purple. The yodel lives in the memories of anyone who used the internet before 2010. Yahoo Mail still serves hundreds of millions of users. Yahoo Finance remains one of the most visited financial sites. Yahoo Fantasy Sports runs leagues for millions every season. Under Apollo Global, Yahoo survives. Barely. Yahoo had everything, then lost it all over a slow and painful near-death experience. Near death, just not quite there. They just refuse to die.